Good morning, CPC family. I've got some great news for you. We will begin regathering on September 6th at CPC. For those of you who are able or comfortable returning to our in-person worship times, we will begin meeting at 11 a.m. With 30% capacity allowed, we'll begin with one service at 11 a.m. We do anticipate needing to move to 2 services in the coming weeks or months. Once we do, we'll meet in 2 services, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. I want to be honest with you about what our gatherings will look like. Based on the survey we sent out in the middle of the summer and our observations from churches across the city and really across Canada, we'll likely see only 25% of our congregation return immediately. We completely understand the hesitation to return and the inability for those who may be extra vulnerable to this virus. With an anticipated small portion attending, we will be limited in volunteers, including worship team members. We will also need to continue to provide quality services for the majority of our congregation who will be participating through our online services. This means that we will need to use video worship for the early stages of our in-person services. Pastor Steve will be working towards live worship, but will need to initially provide video worship with his team as we've been experiencing throughout COVID. We'll have live preaching and a mix of live elements with videos so that both our online and in-person congregations will experience the same thing. I also want you to know that we are able to have kids ministry, but with very strict guidelines. It is no secret that as students return to school, there are lots of concerns about the viability and the processes involved in this. Our board has decided to make a decision that is in alignment with other PAOC churches in our city. We're going to wait until October to resume kids ministry on Sundays, allowing us to observe how things go with the return of students to school. Pastor Haley will continue to provide online kids ministry for those at home. For those attending our gatherings, we encourage parents to bring phones or tablets with earphones so that kids can be part of the online kids services. As we get back to the fall, especially with ministries, we will need to stagger ministry nights. This means that we will not be having a family night on Wednesdays. There are many factors that we need to consider with capacity, volunteers, cleaning requirements, and even the cohort numbers that are required by our government. Our leadership team will determine which ministries must meet in person and which could meet in homes or those that need to meet online. Thank you so much for your patience as we are continuously navigating government regulations. Before I finish, I want to quickly remind you of our processes for Sundays. So here we go. Hey, the first thing you need to do is to go to our website, cpcorleans.ca. There you'll find a registration tab. Click that tab and you'll find the registration page for the given Sunday that's coming up. We're asking that you would register yourself and any family member who will be attending. This is important because the government requires that we take attendance for each of our gatherings. When you arrive at church, you're going to be waiting in a queue. Your family is going to be 2 meters apart from the next family behind them. We're asking that you please wear your mask because that's compulsory for each of our gatherings. When you are waiting, one of our staff are going to be taking attendance and they're also going to be doing screening, which is what the government requires. That means they'll just ask you a few questions just to make sure that you don't have any COVID symptoms. Now I'm going to take off my mask, but you're not allowed to do that when you come. I just want you to be able to hear me clearly. You're going to stop at a station. We're going to ask that you would use the hand sanitizer, or you bring your own hand sanitizer and clean your hands at this spot. You're then going to make your way into the queue to make your way into the auditorium. When you get into the auditorium, you'll be greeted by an usher, and you'll need to wait for the usher to direct you to a second usher who will be down the aisle. That usher will direct you to your seat. Throughout the entire time you're in the building, we're asking that you would keep your masks on. Once you're seated, we're asking that if you're single, you'll ensure that there are 2 tape marks between you and the next person. If you're here with your family or maybe your spouse, you can sit close together, but we're asking that the last person into the pew will be at least 2 tape marks away from the next person. You'll see those tape marks on the back of the pew. They will either be green or blue. Okay, the service is done, and man, it was so good. There are really 3 things that you need to know once the service is done. First of all, you need to wait for directions from the front to tell you how you'll be departing from the auditorium. We ask that you would follow those directions very specifically and make sure that you are practicing social distancing. Secondly, for those of you who would like to tithe in person, you'll be able to make your way out of the auditorium to the East End foyer where Pastor Sheila will look after you. Lastly, for those of you who would like prayer ministry, we're inviting you to line up along the wall on the east side of our auditorium. This will allow you to be prayed for in our office in the front meeting room, practicing social distancing by our prayer team. We do ask that as you're lining up for that you'll make sure that you are 2 meters behind the person in front of you and 2 meters in front of the person behind you. Friends, that's the basics of the service times and what we're going to be doing. We ask that you pay attention to these protocols. I will be providing you with a document in the near future to help you understand all the complete procedures. We so look forward to gathering again, and I want to thank you one more time for the patience that you've shown us as we've tried to navigate this COVID season. It won't last forever, but friends, as we go through the season still, let's work our hardest to bring about the best for God's glory. See you next Sunday.